How long? How long are you going to wait? And wet palate, true or false, the Jews had no idea when Jesus was going to come. What do you think? They knew his promise. Didn't know it. In fact, well, we'll get into it, but there's a lot of parallels between the last day and when Jesus came. Both are the day of the Lord when you're going through these Old Testament promises. I talked about prophetic perspective as they could see what's coming. Even John the Baptist did this in the sermon. He kind of smushes it all together. Jesus is coming, and I didn't touch on the last day, but his winnowing fork is in his hand to clear the threshing floor. This is the last day. He's cleaning up. He did it a little bit in his ministry, but on the last day, there'll be some serious cleaning. 2, Zechariah believed the angel. This is John the Baptist's dad. No, that's a bad idea. Not believe the angel. 3, Peter is the one promised in the Old Testament as Elijah. That is in fact false. John the Baptist, but we'll see that. Going forward, 4, when Jesus was born, the timing was perfect. Mary might argue with you, but yeah, the time had fully come. God sent his son. All right, first one. How long have you been waiting for God's advent? Or stated differently, what are the 3 comings of the Advent season? Advent is a Latin word that means coming. 3 ways he comes to us are his word to our hearts. Good, that's one. Well, the word and sacrament, sure. To your heart. The other 3 comings that we talk about. End times is kind of a new shtick. When did the church historically talk about the end of the world? Advent. Yeah. In fact, there's kind of that theme in all of the lessons. Even today, yeah. There's kind of this end times theme that carries into Advent. Yeah. So end of the world is the second. And the third, the easiest one, yeah, the manger. Those are the 3 comings that we're getting ready for at Advent. What was life like at this time?
A priest named Zechariah who belonged to the priestly division of Abijah. His wife Elizabeth was also a descendant of Aaron. Both of them were upright in the sight of God, observing all the Lord's commandments and regulations blamelessly. But they had no children because Elizabeth was barren, and they were both well along in years.
Yeah, tell me about King Herod. You guys know anything about him? He was a bad man. Yeah. Not maybe quite as bad as some of the emperors. But yeah, killed a bunch of wives, moms, kids. He's a jealous, kind of crazy guy. Not a good place to be living, government-wise. It was rough. And yeah, it was kind of brutal. What year was it? You know that? Contrary to popular calendars, scholars believe Jesus was not born in 0. When was he born? 4 BC, or some people say 3 BC, right in there, depending on when you time it all out. How often would a priest serve in the temple?
Once, when Zechariah's division was on duty and he was serving as priest before God, he was chosen by lot, according to the custom of the priesthood, to go into the temple of the Lord and burn incense. And when the time for the burning of incense came, all the assembled worshippers were praying outside.
Yeah. Just a little background on that. Maybe once in your life, you got to go into the Mishnah and read about some of the traditions of the Jews. At this time, we guessing there are over 8,000 priests. And there were 24 divisions. Zechariah was of the priestly division of, remember, in the first slide? Abijah. Yeah. And so, yeah, this is a once-in-a-lifetime deal. Some people think that after your lot or die was cast, however they picked the lot, You were out of the deal then. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime deal that he gets to go in there. And they had somebody prepare the incense. They had somebody um, getting ready the shewbread. They had all the things that go along with it. There are plenty of guys do it. So it's kind of a big deal. You get to do this. So he goes in there, and
Then an angel of the Lord appeared to him, standing at the right side of the altar of incense. When Zechariah saw him, he was startled and was gripped with fear. But the angel said to him,
Do not be afraid, Zechariah.
why was he afraid? Yeah, why don't you just go up to an angel and give him a high five? He's holy, you're not. Yeah, very quickly. Every time this happens, people are gripped with fear. They fall to the ground. Yeah, or scared. And remember, every time you see an angel, it's always a good thing to go, is this God or an angel? And so if you go to the ground and try to worship an angel, what does the angel do? Get up! I'm not God. Come on. If it's God, stay there. That's the right position. So, before whom would he go? Who's coming? This is the spiel from the angel to Zechariah.
Do not be afraid, Zechariah. Your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you are to give him the name John. And he will go on before the Lord in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the fathers to their children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the righteous, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord.
Before whom would he go? Who's he getting ready for? The Lord. So who's coming in this kid's lifetime? The Savior. Oh my goodness. Big deal. What did it mean to come in the spirit and power of Elijah? This is Malachi.
See, I will send you the prophet Elijah before that great and dreadful day of the Lord comes. He will turn the hearts of the fathers to their children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, or else I will come and strike the land with a curse.
That's the end of the whole book. Anyway, yeah. So Elijah's coming, and then what happens? The great and dreadful day of the Lord? Is that how you picture Christmas? When God shows up. But when you look at this, remember, this is this whole Advent. It's all smushed together, isn't it? Yeah, God's going to show up and make everything right. We're going to examine exactly the outcome and how it looked next Sunday. But yeah. How do we know that John the Baptist was in fact alive?
The disciples asked him,
Why then do the teachers of the law say that Elijah must come first?
Jesus replied,
To be sure, Elijah comes and will restore all things. But I tell you, Elijah has already come, and they did not recognize him, but have done to him everything they wished. In the same way, the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands.
Then the disciples understood that he was talking to them about John the Baptist.
Yeah. Why did the teachers of the law say Elijah must come first? Well, that's in Malachi. You were right. You just totally will. Who Elijah was. Did Zechariah believe the angel?
Zechariah asked the angel,
How can I be sure of this? I am an old man, and my wife is well on in years.
Now, does that sound like an innocent question? Well, yeah, it sounds okay, but how do you know that it wasn't?
The angel answered,
I am Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God, and I have been sent to speak to you and to tell you this good news. And now you will be silent and not able to speak until the day this happens, because you did not believe my words, which will come true at their proper time.
Note to self. Standing in front of an angel, don't lie to him. Believe what he said. Okay? He'll know. Do we believe the angel? That seemed like an odd question. We do have the Word. And I say this because I talk to a lot of people that like to pick and choose what's in their scripture, and they take some words they like, some words they don't. You're getting yourself in a whole lot of trouble. And the definition of unbelief is not taking God at His word. Just how dangerous that is to read something in Scripture and then cognitively say, I don't want to believe it. For any reason. Just to kind of guard your heart as you go through Scripture. 9, how did God keep His promise? What disgrace is there not having children?
When his time of service was completed, he returned home. After this, his wife Elizabeth became pregnant, and for 5 months remained in seclusion.
"The Lord has done this for me,"
she said.
"In these days He has shown His favor and taken away my disgrace among the people."
Yeah, so God kept His promise to, well, to Elizabeth. He's sending a Savior. This is the big overarching, this is the promise kept. I mean, the promise of all promises kept. What disgrace is there in not having children? Is there any disgrace in not having children? No. Was there? Apparently? Yeah, in their time. People thought, what do you do wrong? Why does God hate you? Right or wrong, that was the impression. And God was sensitive. And in doing all of this, He helped out this little lady who had lived with this her whole life. And did she know that this was God's plan for her? But I guess my encouragement is whatever it is that you think God is holding from you, we talked about this on Thanksgiving, it's okay. For all that God has held back from you, know that His grace is still sufficient for you. He doesn't hate you. He has a reason for giving or not giving. Number 10, what do we know about the world when Jesus was born that would make the time right?
But when the time had fully come, God sent His Son, born of a woman, born under law, to redeem those under law, that we might receive the full rights of sons.
Why was that a better time than 2016? The internet, right? Huh? Because everything on the internet's true. Yeah, maybe this wasn't such a great time. This is my idea. God, of course, knows better. What was good about 3 BC? Why was that a really good time to send you? God said it was, is a perfect answer. As historians had looked through history at that time, there are some things that kind of made sense how it all came together. One of them was the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. Roads, travel was relatively safe. Rome was not nice, and yet it was a bad time to be a thief because Roman agents would just kill you on the spot. They didn't mess around. There's no due process, unless you're a Roman citizen, but in the general, they kind of stomped all over their enemies. Peace and safety, roads, and even though Roman power and might ruled, Greek culture took over the whole area. And that included a common tongue. Everyone spoke Greek. That was the first time in a long time you had that. Alexander the Great did a couple nice things when he conquered the world. And he spread that all the way to what? India? And so the gospel could spread with relative ease by word of mouth. And incidentally, even in this day of marketing and everything online, this or that, Google, the best way to do church growth is still word of mouth. An invitation culture is what people talk about cultivating in your church, how you like your God so much you're willing to invite them. Because people will come to invite them. They might come if they see our ad on Google, or if they watch one of my sermons on YouTube. The chances are really high if you invite them. That's a pretty good timing. That's what right now is important. Please say this closing prayer with me. We praise you for sending your Son when the time was just right. Come into our hearts during the season of Advent preparation. Give us patience as we wait on you for deliverance. Any questions at all on how long? Hearing none, God give you all. Blessed be.